Not one, but two more aid packages may be required to help Greece on their recovery path. But will central bank governors have the backing of EU leaders? In the aftermath of today's ECB's monthly report, I'm joined down the line by Alex Mandilaras to discuss. Alex, last month the German finance minister ruled out a Greek haircut but suggested a third bailout may be required. Which situation do you think is more likely, and what does Greece really need?
I think that both options are politically quite difficult. The first one, a bailout, a third bailout, would be very difficult politically for the Greek government. As you know, this is a coalition government. They have a good majority, but still, Greek politics is pretty uncertain. So it would be very difficult to impose any further conditionality on any third program. In other words, imposing new taxes is, I would think, close to impossible, really, in Greece. So all adjustment would really have to take place in terms of further government expenditure slashing, which again faces very, a lot of resistance from unions and big chunks of the Greek society. A haircut politically is very difficult for the German government, even though, of course, following the election, that's to some extent qualified. But still, to impose taxpayer losses on government debt, Greek government debt held by European governments would be, I would think, very difficult. So in terms of what is more likely, I would think that a third bailout program is probably more likely, since it transfers the costs of implementation to the Greek people. Having said that, I think that following the German elections, there could be some talk of debt reduction, which I think actually is what Greece really needs, which is what you asked me in your question. That's what Greece really needs to try and just reduce its unsustainable debt.
In his speech, Schäuble suggested a second debt write-down could destabilise the whole of the Eurozone, which is only in the early stages of emerging from recession. For most, Euro-split fears have abated, but are we still only one such controversial decision away from crisis, despite the positive data?
Yes, I actually do think exactly that. I think that the deep structural issues underlying the euro are still there. Of course, the willingness of the Eurozone countries to support and bail out ailing members has been established, and that's a good thing for the euro. However, I think progress on other levels has been quite slower. So, for example, banking union, political union, fiscal union. I think that the discussion on all these matters has subsided quite significantly since everything became a bit more quiet on the Greek front. But if the Greek issue emerges, which is bound to do so because of its debt unsustainability, then I think also, again, the same issues will re-emerge. So I think Surrey is right in the sense that I think, given the recent positive data from the Eurozone, it will basically perhaps move this very sensitive balance if there was an extensive discussion for a Greek haircut.
Taking the Eurozone as a whole, Mario Draghi's forward guidance on ECB interest rates has split economists down the middle, as borrowing costs have returned to levels deemed unwarranted. According to some governors, this supports the view of some economists that the Frankfurt-based central bank can't stop rates rising. What do you think?
Well, forward guidance is really quite untested. I think it's probably a useful indication of what the policymaker has in mind. But having said that, the forward guidance really needs to be supported by the data. When there is a divergence between the policy guidance, the forward guidance, and what data actually comes through, I think the markets will anyway head in their own direction and try to test the determination of the policymaker to actually implement what they said they would implement. Economists would basically say that forward guidance suffers from a time consistency problem. It's all a matter of credibility. So I'm not convinced personally that forward guidance is really a long-term, credible way for central bankers to guide the markets. So I'm not surprised that interest rates sometimes move in the opposite direction from what a policymaker would expect following forward guidance.
And finally, Alex, what is your outlook for the euro?
The euro has been surprisingly resilient given the crises that it has experienced in the last few years. I think that in the short run, positive developments through economic data should underpin the value of the euro, should basically provide support. So I don't expect any short-run dive in the value of the euro. However, as I mentioned earlier, I think there are some deep underlying structural problems that have not been resolved yet, namely the banking union, the fiscal union, and more political integration. We cannot have really a political union, I guess, but further political integration. All these things have not happened. So, in the long run, if there are unpleasant developments from the issue with Greece, for example, or any other periphery country, this could again generate quite a lot of volatility in the exchange rate. But having said that, the euro has proven to be very resilient, and especially German politicians have put all the weight behind the currency, and this, I think, is quite a good support for the currency.
Alex, thank you. The European Central Bank and the International Monetary Fund will meet in Athens later this month for talks on Greece's recovery. And of course, the Dukascopy TV team will bring you the very latest news as and when it happens. But for me and for now, goodbye.